am I? Am I in the right spot? Is this the right spot? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about some Bible prophecy. We are going to get into more topics in the future, but today the topic is 70 AD. That is the year in question, and the question is the year in question, and the question with that is, did 70 AD fulfill the book of Revelation, all of prophecy? Because the fulfillment of the book of Revelation is the fulfillment of all of the prophecies that have come before it. Which is why if you want to understand the book of Revelation, you need to understand your Old Testament and the prophets. Now, I got in a friendly debate with someone in the comment sections. By the way, a lot of comments. I did not expect that, and sorry if I missed a few. But it was a friendly debate, and I hope I didn't offend anyone. It really made me want to do this, and so but in that debate, I used the year 95 AD and said John wrote it in 95 AD. That was something I used to validate my position, and they said no, he didn't. And what I decided is, instead of using that, we're going to nix that and just come from the perspective of, okay, let's say John wrote it in 70 AD or 60 AD or any time before 70 AD. What he did do is write it during the time of Rome, correct? Roman occupation of Israel in the time of John. We all agree on that. Pretty much have to. So, this one scripture, the book of Revelation, that brings about the dragon, will be in chapter 17, verses 9 through 11. But the dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. We are told from the angel who is speaking to John about what the dragon represents. Specifically for this purpose is the 7 heads. The 7 heads, as you're looking into the verses, are 7 mountains or kings or kingdoms. They're all synonymous. King, kingdom, mountains are used for kingdoms often in the Old Testament and in Hebraic, like thought and prophecy. And he's told 7 heads, 7 kingdoms, 5 of which have fallen. In other words, these are in the past. And he's speaking to John. So put yourself in John's shoes. In or around 70 AD, under Roman occupation on the island of Patmos. And the angel tells you 5 of these kingdoms have come and gone. They're in the past. You already know, because you know your biblical history, that these 5 kingdoms are none other than Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, or you could say the Seleucid dynasty, but Greece, and then Rome. He said one is. The 6th head is Roman occupation. That's the time of John. But then he's told there's a 7th head that is still in the future. The scripture, I'll put this on your screen. Here's what we're reading. This one's out of the NASB, so maybe some slight variations. You can read out of any version of the Bible, and it's going to basically say this. The 7 heads, 7 kings, 5 have fallen, 1 is, but the other has not yet come. And then he's even told there's an 8th. So the 7th head. In John's time, he was living in the 6th head. Was there a 7th empire that followed Rome, that conquered Jerusalem and controlled it? And the answer is yes. It was the Ottoman Empire. But the Ottoman Empire doesn't come until hundreds of years later, after the time of John. But here's the interesting thing. He's also told there is an 8th head. In some translations, like the NASB, it'll say he's one of the 7. But in other translations, it'll say he is of the 7. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same 7th head that has revived. It can be just a conglomeration of those 7 heads, which, if you look at the region I shared on this map in the last video, that region of the world is basically, during the Ottoman days, was like the bridge between West and East. And you can actually see in Turkey, like in ancient buildings, even in modern architecture, modern architecture and geography, there's so much influence from like Western Roman and Greco like culture in there. But you also have influences from the Far East and Arab culture also in Turkey. It's a quite a mix. So the 8th head, that's the interesting one, because we are not living in the days of the 8th head. And from the map, We know the eighth head that comes from that region will be of the seven. The eighth head. Has there been an eighth head that followed the Ottoman Empire? And the answer is no. And I know some conspiracy theorists and cultists out there are going to say the modern Israel is the eighth head. I'm not even going to make a video about why that's wrong. It's completely wrong. So, unless you guys insist, maybe I would. But if it's insisted upon, I'll make one. But the eighth head we are not yet living in, because we know the eighth head comes from this place on the map. Just what the Bible tells us throughout all the prophets. And I shared this, it says it probably on this map. There's scripture I'd shared in that video. Probably the very first comment, I put them all in there. It's a lot, but you should read it all because it paints this whole picture for you. Anyway, I think that's enough said. John, to recap, John is being told that the sixth head is his current position, which is Rome. There's a seventh one in the future. So he's clearly writing about the future. And if all of 70 AD fulfilled this, then where's that seventh head? Because that was still the sixth head. Sixth head of Rome in 70 AD. The seventh head had not yet come. Seventh head has come and gone. Now we're waiting for the eighth. The eighth is in our future. And it's only for a little while. The eighth head, roughly 3.5 years, is the Great Tribulation. And then for a few years after that. Remember, at the midpoint, Satan knows his time is short. Satan's little season is 3.5 years in the Middle East from the location that we've discussed. Anyway, I hope that's pretty simple for you guys. I hope you learned something. Pray for your loved ones. Pray for your families. Pray for myself, my brother. I'm praying for you guys too. And Maranatha to all. And to all a good night. Goodbye.